This conference will now be recorded.
Call to order the Davenport Public Library Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. It's 12 noon. Meeting in the Davenport Public Library, Main Street, Meeting Room C. I wanted to mention the attendance. Honey is here via electronic. Joanna is here. Joe is missing. Michael is here. Amanda is here via electronic. Malvika will not be here because she's having issues with air conditioning at her office. Terrible time of year to have that. Jerry is here. I'm here. Oh, Joe just showed up. Good. And then we also have our library director is here. Lexi Reiling is here. Jennifer Williams is here. Casey Shipley is here. Tracy Moore is here, and Marion McGinnis from the City Council is here. I think did I catch everybody?
Brandy Park.
Oh, Brandy. Okay. I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. So we have roll call. That's the roll call on the introduction of attendees. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Honey? She gave a thumbs up.
Yes.
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Shelley is not here. Amanda?
Yes.
Vika's not here. Jerry?
Yes.
And myself is yes, so that passes. Public comment? Don't see anyone. Move on to reports. Friends? Hillary is not here, but.
Correct. Yep.
She sent an email. Okay. Yes.
Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, Hillary did send an email to the group just to let everybody know that she's they're working on sending out invitations for Fatal Fiction as soon as they get them from the printer. So we're hoping that those will go out starting on the 18th, we believe. We're still looking for sponsors for the event. So do reach out to Hillary if you think of a business that might be interested in supporting the Friends. And she wanted to extend a special thank you to Malavika for sharing our save the date for the event and securing a sponsor. And she said that the Friends appreciate your support.
Thank you, Jeff. So, committee reports, finance.
We're coming up to the end of our fiscal year, and so far things are looking pretty good. I guess give some thanks that we haven't had a lot of maintenance maintenance on vehicle issues. We only used up 37% of that budget. I'm assuming that's because things didn't break down.
Thank you. Personnel, Amanda?
Nothing for personnel.
Okay, thank you. And Malvika is not here.
I was going to tag on something to advocacy, but I don't have a report.
Okay, well, if you want to add something.
Okay. This past weekend, the German American Heritage Center celebrated its Best of the Worst annual event. And I was so pleased to see the library was there, Catherine was there. And I spoke with her halfway through my volunteer shift, and she said she had, I don't know who were coming by. I think it's great to see the library. I don't know how you guys staff that. I understand it's always a challenge balancing things, but that's an unusual place to see the library, which is why it's so valuable. Because people wouldn't think about, oh, here's the library. You have all kinds of stuff, to share with folks. So thank you, library, for doing that. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to the director's report. Jeff?
Thanks, Tom. In your packet, there is a written report and a couple of items to highlight, as well as one or two items that didn't make it into the packet. The first is the Fairmount Library roof replacement project is moving forward, so the plans will be going to the city council on the 16th, for the committee of the whole, and then council on the 23rd. That's part of the CIP project 23093. So we should be getting the new roof on Fairmount this year, which is going to be really good. In terms of operations, the big one for the main library renovation phase 2 project, we are nearing completion with most of that project, and the exciting news is special collections opened yesterday. So we have a soft launch through the rest of this month before they go into their normal hours, starting on August 1st. So we're really excited to see the Richardson Sloan Special Collection Center move from the basement up to the second floor. Again, there's still some final touches that we're working on for that, so stay tuned for some other items that will still need to get done for that, as well as a grand opening, which we will do at some point in the future once everything's all wrapped up. Another thing to note, we've talked about the cafe space at Eastern a lot over the years, and as you know, for the last 15 years, we've struggled having a viable tenant, so we made the decision finally, after time and time again, to convert that space into a space for the Friends to use. So we're excited about that because we're going to be able to increase the storefront, so to speak, for the Friends to highlight more of their items to have on sale, and then also have the space back of house for our staff that they're currently occupying to be used for the library things, which is going to be launching in a few months. Because as you know, we're going to need some space to store some of those items. So this is, I think, is going to be a win-win for everyone. We're sad that we're unsuccessful getting a cafe in there, but we've tried and failed. So I think the definition of insanity comes to mind.
Yeah, I having been around through all that, yes, it has been a mission that we just have not been able to successfully accomplish.
Other items to highlight, we did launch a new mobile app, so we're excited for that. It's a little bit faster. It interfaces much better with our integrated library system, so overall has a better user experience. There are some changes to it, so the look and the feel are a little bit different. We're still working through some of the kinks and making sure everything's fully functional, as well as updating some of the icons. So stay tuned for some of the changes for that, but we're excited about the new app. We introduced the Employee Professional Development Plan Program, the PDP, so that was an extension of our staff enrichment and continuing education initiatives, and just kind of a bigger opportunity, bigger program, and a good opportunity for more staff to be able to participate in developing their own professional growth. So we're excited for that as well. And that was directly related to changes in policies that the board just did last month. Also included, there were some highlights of accomplishments in the last fiscal year. I just slipped that in here, and I decreased the font size on that to make sure that it would fit, because there's a lot of stuff in there. I'd encourage you to look through those. If you have questions on those, feel free to ask at any point. For materials and programming, we have automatically renewing items 2 times now, so we're really excited about that too. Better service for our patrons. The summer reading challenge is going very well. We're already more than what we had last year in terms of participation, so we're excited about that. And then we got a lot of positive feedback about Bridges and our access to provide increased opportunities from significantly more items for our materials, which was really great. In terms of community relations, one thing that didn't make it into the board packet is yesterday I attended an emergency meeting of the Disaster Ready Quad Cities group to discuss responses for to the July 11th storm that occurred on Friday. And we were able to get a little bit of information shared with staff for that, so we can help patrons that might be seeking aid because of the disaster.
Did any of our branches have any issue with the storm?
You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. And then as far as upcoming programs, there's a couple of exciting programs that are coming up. The Escape from the 90s escape room looks like that's going to be a lot of fun, so I encourage you to check that one out, because the Y2K bug is invading Earth. Pretty cool. One other thing too, as a reminder, there is a board training available on August 6th at 6:30. That's a virtual training. I've only heard from one board member, so if there are other trustees that are interested, if there are a couple of us that are interested, and I can definitely book a space for us. Otherwise, we'll just do virtual. And I think that's all I had to highlight in terms of my report. Are there any questions on that before I turn it over to Lexi to talk about the statistical dashboard?
One quick question. I guess I never really asked this question since we're moving special collections from the basement upstairs. You know, what's happening with the space in the basement that special collections was in?
Yeah, that's going to be an expanded space. So in particular, where the workroom was for the special collections staff, that'll be now our technical services team. They're going to be moving from the second floor down to that spot, which will free up the space for technical services is to have a larger workroom for other staff on the second floor. But the biggest thing is going to be just being able to increase our capacity for storing special collections materials and archival materials in the lower level down there. We're going to have also through the connection that Malavika made with us with St. Ambrose to get some compact shelving in place as well in the coming months. So we're going to actually be able to increase capacity quite a bit in terms of the number of items that we can store in the old special collections.
Okay.
And it is closed to the public now. That area is not available or accessible to the public.
Okay, all right.
So technical offices and archiving. That's the use for the basement, right?
Just tech services and then
Yeah.
some of the archival materials is going to be down there. Yeah.
Any other questions for Jeff?
I had, I had an individual from the public ask me about, well, what about the room? What about the money that the person spent to do the downstairs? This person knew the person who, one of the Richard Sloan or Richardson. And I said, well, the collections are still available. So, I mean, it's not about the space. I don't know what the original thing was, that space, how it was designated or how the money was given. And it may not be an issue and they may have gotten it, someone who would do that if they could, I think. So, and so I said, well, it's all still there. It's in a different place and there's more room for storing things. So that's the way. So I don't know if there was anything in the original donation of, or creation of the money that created the archives, if there was any language around that at all, but about space, the essential space.
Correct. Yeah, we're still all in compliance.
Yeah,
with
exactly,
the
cool,
regulation.
right. And I assumed that, so I was not, just wanted to let you know.
Any other questions for Jeff? Then we move to you, Marion,
What's
as
that?
council liaison.
It's, I'm
Sorry, Tom, can we have Lexi talk about the statistical dashboard real quick?
Sure,
That was
sure.
included in the
I'm
packet.
sorry.
So we've now gone through one full fiscal year with the new statistical dashboard that Jeff shared with you. It's been really helpful in comparing how we've been doing year over year. And so going through the one from this last fiscal year, FY25, I wanted to share a little bit with you about how we did year over year, especially because looking through this was very heartening because category after category, I could see how successful we've been this last fiscal year. So I want to take you through it very briefly, starting with the number of patrons who visited our facilities. We served 331,425 patrons in our buildings this fiscal year. And last year, that number was just a pinch over 300,000. So we actually increased over 10% in the number of patrons who came to our buildings this year. And obviously, that's going to have a huge impact on all those other numbers as far as circulation and program attendance. I want to skip circulation real quick, so we'll come back to that. We were able to do more programs this last year. We offered 1,387 programs, and that increase was across all of our age groups. We were able to offer more programs for kids, for teens, and for adults than we did the year before. And this is a testament to the hard work of our teams in youth services, information services, special collections, and outreach who are leading those programs. And of course, having more programs means we have more attendees for our programs. 34,589 patrons attended our programs this year. And that was up from last year with 34,248. Attendance was a little bit lower at our children's programs, but much higher at our adult and teen programs, so that made up for that balance. You'll see on the second page that we added 4,413 new card holders. So just over 48,000 Davenport residents have library cards, which is 48% of our Davenport residents. So we're trending well on our way to having the majority of residents have a card, and that is thanks to the hard work of our staff through efforts like increased outreach and doing special events during Library Card Sign-On Month in September. So definitely stay tuned. There will be some fun things to come there. Our space bookings were up 11% this year. We had a total of 6,674 bookings of our meeting rooms, our study rooms, and our makerspace. There's a lot of factors that may have contributed to this. Of course, we had that policy change allowing for-profit groups to book those rooms, and word has spread about that, so we're seeing more of that happening. And then we have increased availability of our makerspace as well, as staff have gotten more comfortable with the materials that are in there and promoting the equipment to patrons. And that's just going to increase even more now that we have that whole space walled off. So we are able to offer some open hours in the space. Public computer use increased to 43,098 logins. Conversely, we did see a decrease in our Wi-Fi usage, and you'll note that's the first area on this dashboard where we've had a decrease. And talking to our IT staff, that decrease in Wi-Fi usage is likely just due to increased availability of 5G devices. We also did start turning off the Wi-Fi from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., but that would have had minimal impact on those numbers. As promised, I want to turn back to that first page and end with circulation, and I wanted to end there because for a lot of years now, we've seen year over year our circulation of library materials decline. However, this year, for the first time, and I don't really remember how long, our circulation went up. So this last year, we checked out a total of 526,507 items, compared to 518,675 the year before. So 2% increase in our material circulation. Our highest circulating collection was adult, over 300,000 materials, followed by kids and teens. I was so surprised by this. I did go back and check those numbers like 3 different times to make sure they were correct. And they are. And of course, like I was, you're probably wondering what led to that increase and what led to all of these increases that we saw this last fiscal year. And unfortunately, it's just impossible to pinpoint any one specific cause. And it's likely a variety of factors. You could say that because we have more programs, that brought more people through the doors and increased that. And while they're here, they're going to check out more materials. You could look at a lot of the policies we've done over the last few years to break down barriers to accessing the library, like going fine-free, and see how it takes time for things like that to have an impact that's visible. You know, there's no way to know what it is, and I could go on and on listing potential options. And we'll continue to assess those and see what adjustments we need to make and what kind of things we need to continue doing so that we can, as always, make sure our library is accessible to everyone and serving our whole community. Questions about any of these numbers? Larry?
Well, quick question on the circulation, just what defines, I guess, a checked out item? Is it even a digital copy of something? Will the Library of Things count as part of circulation? So anything that's checked out?
Anything that's checked out or renewed.
And is that per event, like if somebody checks out 3 or 4 items, is that?
Then it counts as 3 or,
That does, okay, each individual piece counts, okay,
Yep.
just curious.
Question about card holders.
Yes.
Does Davenport provide cards only for residents of Davenport, or do we give cards to anyone who comes in and asks?
So our cards, you have to be a Davenport resident. However, we do also have other options through open access or through our intergovernmental agreements with the Illinois libraries. Those wouldn't count towards the numbers I'm listing here now.
The reason I ask is a couple of years ago, I was up in Waterloo for a number of weeks and stopped in their library, and they said, "Hey, here's a card." So I got a Waterloo card, and I never use anymore. But I wasn't sure that just anyone could come in and get a card. No, gotta be
No,
resident.
correct, yeah.
I have a quick.
Go right ahead, George.
So for the wireless, what was the decision behind no longer allowing Wi-Fi from 10 to 6?
So it's not during our open hours, and that can help to, not have people gathering so much during those hours, Jeff, where they're.
Yeah, there was concerns about the number of people that had been congregating at Maine in particular on the front porch late at night, early in the morning, causing issues, leaving behind trash and defecating and other items in that area. We felt that after 10 o'clock and before 6 the next morning would be still late enough for students to be able to access the wireless if they need to. And we haven't heard any complaints since we did that. But that was a more recent change. That was sometime in the last 3 months or so. Good question.
Any other
One
questions?
more quick one, just clarification. On library visits now, does that count like if somebody comes in to a meeting in one of the meeting rooms that pass the desk?
That's a good question. So until recently, it did not count them because the counters were after when you came into the library proper, and so didn't necessarily catch, particularly at the branches, when folks would just come into the lobby and turn to go into the meeting rooms. But we did get new people counters, and they are now going to be able to count when people come in, so we'll be able to capture more library use that way.
Like at Eastern, where you go into the meeting rooms, you'll be able to count some of that.
The other thing to note about this on circulation and really all the categories, sometimes it's macro effects that impact library usage. So, for example, in 2008, when we had the downturn in the economy, libraries across the country and in Davenport as well saw a huge spike in our usage, right? We saw a lot of people that were visiting and using our resources, checking out materials. And then that number started to then drop. And it has continued to drop ever since then. And it was exacerbated again during COVID. We saw our numbers decrease significantly for obvious reasons. So it's really, really, really great to finally see some of those numbers turning the other way. In some cases, a little bit more dramatically, but it's really wonderful that we're kind of heading back up in a positive direction in almost every key performance indicator, which is really great.
And I
I have
want
a couple of questions if I
say,
could.
putting the statistics into the dashboard with a little bit of commentary next to it is, to me, is very helpful, because then you can put some context behind whatever the trends are. And so I think this is a heck of a lot more valuable than, we used to get. There's a big table with all the percentages and numbers on it, which, as an accountant who presents financial statements to board members, people glaze over when they're looking at a table of numbers. So this is to me, is much more useful. Just one person's opinion.
That's great. And I know that in the past it was expressed too that some of the tables are really helpful as well. And that's my mistake. I meant to actually include that in the packet so that you would at least have that as well. So after this meeting, I'll make sure I email that. So all the board members do have that, so they can look at the raw data as well, if you're curious with looking at that information as well.
Thank you. I guess now we transition to Marion.
Right, and really, I don't have very much at all today. We are, this is a 5-week month, so we're in our, this cycle, this starts the last 2-week cycle in July, so we have that week where we don't meet because there's a 5th Wednesday that falls in July. We do have party in the park at February Park this Thursday, and then I think the last one is August 7th, I think, at Credit Island. So I think I'm correct about that. In any case, so those are our party in the parks. The Third Street 2A, the resurfacing, it seems to be going along, according to pace. We've had, except for last Friday, it's been pretty good weather for doing the work. So, and there is, the plan at the end in the fall, and I haven't heard any change to that, to do the transition to 2A on Third Street once it's done. And it seems to be moving along. There haven't really been any delays in it. So they're planning well, and because that's going well. I think the work of getting some of the sidewalk work done on 4th Street, the accessible site, and that's why there's so much torn up around there, but there's a lot of accessible sidewalk work being done as well. So they're trying to get a head start on that on 4th Street for the resurfacing of that next year. So, stay tuned. I still don't know a date on the transition, but that was the plan, was to do that yet this year, so.
Thank you, Mary.
All right. That's all I
Any
have. Anybody
questions?
has any questions of me?
Thank you. Old business. A motion to approve changes to the library trustee code of ethics and library trustee job description, which I think was in everybody's packet.
So moved.
We have a second. Motion and a second. During discussion, Jeff.
Thank you, Tom. After last month's meeting, there was discussion about the library trustee job description, and the consensus was, yeah, it's helpful and we need to use it. So we went ahead and took that opportunity to update it, and that updated version is included in your packet as well as any of the changes that were discussed to the code of ethics at that meeting as well.
So any other discussion from the board? So there's been a motion and a second to approve that. Call the roll. Amanda?
Yes.
Joanna?
Yes.
Honey?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Shelley's not here. Alvika's not here. Michael?
Yes.
And my own vote is yes. So that passes. Want to thank everybody for helping us put that together. New business, committee assignments for 2026. There should have been right after the trustees' information, there should be a roster of the board and their terms, when they started, when they end, and then what committee they are on. Now this, if any members of the board would like to move, please let me know. My thought was we would put this over till next month, and then next month we'll actually finalize what the committee assignments are for the next year. If that's okay with everyone. That way you have some time to think about what you want to do. Okay? And the next item under new business.
Tom,
Yes, I'm sorry.
just my phone number, cell number, it's actually 508 as opposed to 507.
508.
508, 713.
We'll get that updated. Thank you.
Tom,
Yes.
I'm just thinking right now, I'm looking and it looks like my term ends next June. So I don't know how we go about this or what the timetable would be, but at some point we're going to need to transition me from being the chair of the personnel group, since I won't be here for next year's annual exam, since it happens at the end of the year. So I don't know how we go about that or decide that, but just something to think about.
Well, yeah, that's good observation, yeah. So that would be something we'll have to think about. Do we want to have a committee chair that will rotate off the board next year? So
Yeah.
that is a legitimate point. So, is there any other commentary from the board? If you have a position change, let me know. And I'll try to accommodate whatever anybody wants to do.
Quick question.
Yes,
Is there
sir.
anything that dictates that there's three and three on each of the committees, or is
It,
that just?
it's simply a function of the fact that,
Okay,
you
so
know,
there's.
split the jobs up.
Okay.
Hopefully-
Something in them.
Hopefully people are serving in an area where they find
Right.
some interest. Okay. Next item on the agenda, behavior policy. Jeff?
Thanks, Tom. So included in your packet is a memo that I sent to you about the policy as well as the updated policy and the current policy. Some background on this, this is just up for its regular 3-year review. We've sent a copy of it to our IDEA team, leadership team, and then also all staff for feedback. Background on this policy, it generally outlines accepted behavior within the library, and it serves kind of as our code of conduct. It's one of 4 core policies that are actually required by the State Library of Iowa for our accreditation. It is also definitely one of the most challenging policies for both leadership and for staff in terms of implementation and managing. As you know, as a public library, we serve a very diverse community, and our organizational philosophy does emphasize equitable access and a welcoming environment for all patrons. So we try often, well, always to balance the needs of everyone in the community while also ensuring that our policies are non-discriminatory and also to be enforceable by staff. So in addition to the behavior policy itself, we also have a behavior policy enforcement procedure, and we have a behavior chart as well to provide staff with some clear guidance on managing various situations. We also have some other support tools for staff that include notices for suspension of library privileges. We utilize City of Davenport trespass notices, and we have internal reporting systems for conduct reports and also for banned patrons. And then we also do ongoing staff training, and we also have contracted security personnel at our main library, 40 hours of the week minimum, and 53 hours that we're open. So together, those tools are designed to hopefully make sure that we're addressing all behaviors that occur, the unwanted behaviors at the library. A couple of years ago, maybe 5 years ago, 21 maybe, or 18, around 2018, 2021, a few years ago.
Yeah.
I think right around COVID or right around before COVID, we simplified the categories of behaviors. We had about 40 different categories, and the feedback at that time from staff was that it was very complicated, so we wanted to simplify it. So we did simplify it down to 8 categories, and now this proposed version is actually increasing it again, but not anywhere near as much. This has about 18 categories. So we're hoping that it does do an even better job than before in helping staff communicate to patrons what is and what is not allowed. There are a couple of items that you would think that should be on here that are not on here because they're covered elsewhere under policies, such as the smoking policy. It's not listed here, but that is listed in other policy. We can always look at incorporating that somehow if you want. The problem is if we update one, then we have to update the other at the same time, so that could be a challenge. Just for reference, for your purposes, generally staff we will inform an individual of a policy violation. Anytime that we witness somebody that is doing behavior that is prohibited by policy, we'll generally want to inform them. So we'll have them say, hey, you might not be aware, but X is prohibited at the library. Please conform to policies, or you may want to do this instead, or we can assist you with this. So an example might be somebody that's using their device and playing music very loudly. We might inform them that that's not allowed because it impacts others' ability to use the library. And we might offer them an alternative. We could ask them to turn it down or off, or we also sell earbuds, for example, at the front desk. So patrons could purchase a pair of cheap earbuds if they would like as a possibility. Then what we'll do is we'll advise them of potential banning for a future infraction if they don't follow the policy, then we might come back again. Depending on the severity of the incident, we might ask them to leave for the day. So that could be anywhere from 1 day, or it could be a week, a month, 6 months, or even a year, depending on the infraction. In some cases, it's cumulative. It might work its way up. And in some cases, it might be a full-on a year immediately. Again, it depends on the nature of the incident, what somebody does. If somebody pulls out a knife and threatens a staff member, then that would be an immediate one-year banning and contacting law enforcement, obviously. If it's somebody that's sleeping, it's we wake them up, we wake them up, we wake them up, we wake them up, and then we might ask them to leave for the day. So it's not just one and done or anything like that. The one exception right now is any alcohol or drug related incidents have an automatic 30-day ban that we have directed staff to give. So then if the individual does violate their suspension, so if they are suspended and they come back, then staff is expected to notify law enforcement so they can issue a trespass notice. And then the patron can appeal if they need to, so they can do that by within the first 2 weeks after to make sure that they notify either the director or the assistant director, so we can have a conversation with them and listen to why they were appealing or why they would like to appeal. If they're not satisfied with that, then it could potentially escalate to the Board of Trustees at a regular meeting during the public comment period where we can discuss that. That's background on the policy. So you have it in front of you, and there are a couple of typos that we're already aware of that we definitely need to fix. The other things about it too, there was a slight change that was a mistake on my end under provision number 5H. That's actually supposed to be broken out, and I copied over the wrong version, so that has a mistake in it. The other typos are on number 4, suspension is spelled incorrectly. And under G, we need to add in, change the replace the comma. I think there were a couple of others too, and I'm guessing that Michael's going to have some of those.
Have there been any, how have things been going with the security since the change?
That's a good question. I feel like their security has been doing good. We'd prefer that they do even more in terms of hours, because we did have a little bit in the budget to add, cover a few more hours than the 40, but they haven't been able to do that at this point. We're going to ask that as part of the renewed contract, which will be going forward next month.
Sir, any other?
I have a lot of questions, actually.
Go right ahead.
I'm gonna start with number, R on 4, 5. So adults using, can you explain like how that would be determined and like, how, because I guess like literally the other day was in the kids section trying to get a book and then like, so I can use for my niece, but I was by myself. So, like if I explain that to someone, what I'm doing, is that how you determine like if they can be there or not, or like what is that determining?
Yeah, that's a great example. So you have a legitimate need to be in that area, so you could go in there and do what you need to do, so it's fine. This is meant to address situations where we might have somebody that might be a registered sex offender that would be in the area that's trying to groom or find target children. So it's designed to try to protect them. So we would generally just approach and ask and see what they're there for.
Gotcha. Also, I feel like some of the added policies are to at least, like maybe in part, respond to the noticeable increase of individuals experiencing homelessness who are using the library. And like, I understand that we need policies to respond to the usage, but I believe some of these policies, I don't know if we should have, specifically like F, because I feel like that can be, I don't know, it like case by case basis or like person by person basis, and I don't think that's really going to be helpful or inclusive. I feel like that may exclude those who rely on, like that population that relies on the library. So, because I can say like someone's perfume or cologne is offensive and like the odor just like, you know what I mean? So I feel like that can be hard to go by, and I'm not sure if that's something that we as a library should decide.
What you just provided there is a really great example of that too.
Right.
It's making sure that our policy does apply for everyone. So if somebody had that amount of odor, that they made it so that other people couldn't use the facility, then we'd ask them to leave regardless. So it could be because maybe they haven't had an opportunity to bathe for a couple of weeks, or it could be because they're wearing a ton of perfume and they make it so nobody else can use that space.
I don't know if that's a good reason for us to like have someone leave the library, is what I'm saying. I don't believe that an odor or a smell should make someone not be able to access materials or just our library in general. Then G, I said, like, when it says employees may discard unattended items, what do you mean by discard? And I understand like unattended items, I get that. Are we discarding to like a lost and found, or are we actually throwing their things away? Like what will that look like?
Yeah. Any unattended belongings would be placed into a lost and found, and then they would stay there for the 30 days. The exceptions would be if there's food.
Gotcha. Okay. So that was my main thoughts about the policies. I really believe that we should really think about F at least. But yeah.
Is there any other comments or questions from the board?
I think Joanna brings up a good point, referencing F. But we have a balancing issue here, because clearly we have to be respectful of individuals who may or may not have access to hygiene options. And I've noticed this when I've come early for these meetings. I'll sit down on the cushions to read before coming downstairs, and the odor of smoke is repellent. I mean, it's really strong occasionally, and it's because someone who smokes a lot has been sitting there for a while and they leave that behind. So the balance is, well, they should have the ability to use our facilities. On the other hand, if what they leave behind is so repellent, then others are being denied that same opportunity. They move, they can't come in here. So I'm not sure how we balance those two issues, really.
I'd say that's just a increase of cleaning, if that's something that we need to increase for the budget or something. In my head, that's what pops up immediately, like, okay, we're welcoming in all patrons and we don't know what walk of life they're having or why they're smoking. Like, are they going, I used to be a social worker, so that's how kind of my brain looks like, oh, why are you doing this? What is happening? How can we help you? I feel like that's, to me, what I feel like our library should be like. And so, yeah, I get what you're saying too, because you want it to be inclusive to everyone. We can't just not look at that as well, but.
If I could offer, maybe if Jeff, because we're not going to vote on this today, we're going to bring this back next month. If we could get from staff how many times, just roughly, this has been an issue. I mean, has it been something where we've had two sides of, the cologne issue, BO issue? I mean, what has been the effect, or what has been the times that staff has actually had to address this particular issue? I mean, I realize it kind of put me on the spot.
No, it's a daily issue, and staff have been addressing that under the old one, bullet 2, any behavior that endangers the safety or health of self and others. That's how they've been addressing the odor. It just wasn't in the current policy as listing odor. This one is spelled out a little bit more clearly. So it's, I don't think it's that much of a change, but I could be mistaken on that.
It's just a change in wording.
A change
So
in
it always
wording.
existed, but it's just a change of,
Yeah,
like, when it was 40 items, it was one of those items.
Okay.
it was one of the items, yeah. And it's one that staff have consistently enforced, because what we're always trying to do is balance that need to provide access for everyone in the community. And once somebody comes in and makes it so that other people can't utilize the facility, then that's when we have to address that behavior. So it really is very much a balancing act for a lot of circumstances. And again, the policies that we're trying to write and then enforce, we need to make sure that they apply to everyone across the board. So another example would be food, where our updated policies will propose that food is not allowed inside any of the facilities except in designated areas, which would be the book nook, the cafe space at Eastern, and and then a designated space here at Main, with the exception would be the meeting rooms. And that would apply for everyone across the board. So if that is a mom feeding her toddler in the children's area some food, then that staff would have to enforce that, as well as somebody that's having a Snickers bar, up on the second floor at Main or something like that.
Yeah, I think another important aspect of that, particularly F, the piece about odors, is making sure that our staff are, if they're having to address it, that it's in an empathetic and helpful kind of way. Like instead of just saying something like, hey, you can't be here in the library now, it's here's what I'm noticing. I do have some resources here for places where you could get laundry service or shower, things like that, if this is something that you need, and providing that to them through the binder of resources that Quinn left for us. And I know that our staff have had access to some training from Ryan Dowd, who does a lot of Librarian's Guide to Homelessness and other customer service oriented training to help deal with issues like that can be really sticky. And I think our staff work really hard to make sure that they're addressing those in a way that is consistent and empathetic towards our patrons, and making sure that the goal is for them to be able to use the library.
Address your issues.
It does, but I just still feel strongly that it should be, and also like it should be taken out. And also the fact that it was under health and safety is, I don't even know how to express what I'm thinking right now, but I will also say, like, I see that there are, like, it's an issue because it also can relate to L, the inappropriate use of restrooms. So, like, is there a way that, like, we can increase our programming to help with that? Maybe we bring a resource in if we see people are needing to shower or different things like that. Or can we have a hygiene supply thing that we give to people if that's something they need?
We do.
Yes. Oh, we do? Okay, that's great. So maybe increasing it, or like figuring out ways that we can provide that service if that is an option. If we see that it is something that we're having to deal with often. So I still feel the same about F, and getting rid of it and making sure that we are being mindful. And I know that you are, and I saw that in the note that you talked about earlier. So yes.
Well, I think, I guess to kind of circle back to your initial observation about this was when we had the ARPA funding and we had our social worker, I think, she kind of helped with that, with a variety of these kinds of issues. And unfortunately, the funding for that position disappeared because ARPA funding disappeared. So it's unfortunate. I mean, my preference would be that we would still have a social worker, in the building, because I think it helps in a whole variety of ways. But we just don't really have the funding for it.
Yeah. I think this is just a chance for us to think of creative ways to just more creative, we don't have that funding, but is there somewhere else in the budget or within, like I said, programming that we could use those funds to help? I think we just have to think outside of the box, because I don't want us to be like, oh, we didn't get the fund, we didn't get the funding to keep this position, which I'm not saying you're saying at all, but I just want to say, let's just think creatively of ways we can help this community.
Quick comment. Do agree with Joanna that funds is being applied without prejudice, that there are, this is not just a homeless issue. It may be somebody with just they had too much perfume on, or if you spend some time in Europe where using deodorant is still an option rather than expected. There could be cases like that, and then as long as we're not being selective in the application, probably makes it more okay as far as I'm concerned. It's a little easier to maybe point out some of our homeless population or something rather than others that could be just as guilty of this.
Junior high boys.
Yes.
All right, any other discussion? That will move on to next month. And then, next item on the agenda is president's comments. I really don't have anything other than for people to think about what committee they would like to serve on for this next year. Just repeat that. And then, is there any other business for to be brought to the board?
Do we have any contract negotiations coming up for finance? All, that was all taken care of last year.
Yeah, the union contract was approved as it went into effect on July 1st.
So we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I
Oppose? We stand adjourned.